Hey everybody, how's it going? This is Sayoxy with Triangle Gaming. Today I'm going to be bringing you another League of Legends guide. This is going to be a jungle guide for Evelynn the Widowmaker. Now it says that her attributes are Assassin with a secondary Mage. What this means is she's going to be an ability power champion. There are some builds out there that you can try to go AD if you really want to play Evelynn and your team needs more AD. So, that is possible. It shows here that her difficulty is like really hard. It's not that hard. Maybe it's really up there because she can't really take any champion head on. She's not like other assassins where she can pretty much just blow people up. She's more of a, I guess you could say like a support assassin. Like she has to pick her moments. Now this is greatly helped by her passive, which we'll really talk about more. It just allows her to be invisible, so people can't see her, so it really allows you to sneak up on people easily. But yeah, she really can't take anyone one-on-one. I mean, there are some that she can, of course. And then also, unless she, if she's been fed, obviously, anyone that's fed can run away with the game pretty much. So, anyways, this will be a pretty basic guide. So we'll take a quick look at her abilities, masteries, rune setup, and then an item build that I use for her. Also, at the end, as always, there will be some gameplay footage set up for y'all to watch. So let's go ahead and get into it. Alright, so now let's go ahead and take a look at her abilities. Her passive, Shadow Walk. When out of combat, Evelynn enters stealth, only being able to be seen by nearby enemy champions, or True Sight. While stealth, she rapidly regenerates mana. This is one of the key aspects to her playstyle. Evelynn's really good in the early game with her ganking ability, just because of this passive, which allows her to be invisible and wander around. After the laning phase, she loses a lot of effectiveness, so if you've been fed, you can continue to go damage, or if you just want to continue to go damage, you can go damage. Especially maybe if you have some other tanks already on the team. But usually people also will start building some tanky items just because she, like I said, she loses a lot of her effectiveness and she is really squishy. So you really want to kind of get some tanky items just so you can survive through the fights. So anyways, yeah, when she gets out of combat, she goes invisible and she remains invisible until she re-enters combat or uses one of her abilities. That even if you're not around anybody, if you use one of your abilities, it will break you out of combat. I can't think of the exact time, but you have to be out of combat for a certain amount of time. It's not very long, but it's not instant either. Another key thing, which you don't really have to worry about, but it does help, is that it does increase her mana regeneration while she is stealth. And then we have her Q ability, Hate Spike. Evelynn fires a line of spikes through an enemy, dealing damage to all enemies in its path. So this is pretty much her big damage ability. It has a very short cooldown, so you can pretty much spam this. Costs very little mana, but obviously if you spam it, you will use up your mana, but it's not very much, so you can use this very often. Another note, and what kind of sucks about this sometimes, is it auto targets the nearest enemy. So if you're chasing someone through minions, it may shoot off to the side randomly at a minion because it's closer to you than the person that you're chasing. So that kind of sucks, but it's also nice that you can just run around and spam this without having to target anything. So it's kind of a love-hate thing. And then there's her W ability, Dark Frenzy. Evelynn passively increases her movement speed when hitting enemy champions with her spells. Upon activation, Evelynn breaks free from slows affecting her and gains a massive movement speed boost for a short duration. So we'll go ahead and start off with the first part. It passively increases her movement speed when hitting enemy champions. So this really helps you chase down people. If you're just running behind them, spamming your Q and hitting them, you'll keep up with them, so you can keep basic attacking and doing your damage. It also makes it kind of easy to kite people. Like I said earlier, since it's kind of hard for her to take on a lot of champions 1v1, say if you get caught out in the jungle by the other jungler, this allows you to kite them around and help you get away and all the good stuff. Let's go ahead and talk about the activation part. When you activate the ability, gain a massive movement speed and it breaks slowing effects. This even further helps you chase down people because it is a pretty significant movement speed boost, and it also helps you get out of combat. So she is really squishy, but she has these things that kind of help her get in and out of fights. That's kind of where the difficulty comes. You gotta pick your moments, get in and out of the fights because you can be burned down pretty quickly. Then we have her E ability, Ravage. Evelynn slashes her target twice, dealing damage with each hit. She then gains increased attack speed for a short duration. This ability is pretty fun. Like it says, you hit them twice, it deals fairly decent damage, especially against squishier targets, but I guess that's true about every damaging ability. And then it increases her attack speed by a good amount for a short duration, so don't forget to do those basic attacks. Then we have her ultimate, Agony's Embrace. Evelynn summons spikes from the ground to deal damage and slow enemies in the area. She then gains a shield based on how many enemy champions were hit. So this has multiple good uses. It does damage. Nothing great, but it does do an okay amount of damage. It slows the enemy, which is always nice. I mean, this, along with all your speed boosts, it really allows you to be really good with ganks. and then it gives her a shield for however many champions you hit. So in team fights, this gains even more effectiveness because you'll have a bigger shield. Now for your max order, you're going to go ahead and max out Q first, E second, and then your W third. You will start off with your Q ability. Depending on how early you want to gank, you may wait until level 4 to put a point into Dark Frenzy. Like I said though, Evelynn's strength is in the early game, so you may be looking at an early gank. So you may want to go ahead and pick up W. Maybe just see how your lanes are going or what you like to do. But I guess you can just go standard and do a Q, E, W. Or like I just said, you can get your second point in Q before you put a point in W. And then as always, you will max out your ultimate whenever possible. So now we're going to go ahead and take a look at her masteries. I got 21 points in offense and 9 points in defense. We'll go ahead and start off with her offensive tree. Got 1 point in double-edged sword for a little bit more damage. 4 points in sorcery for 5% cooldown reduction. 3 points in brute force for plus 10 attack damage at level 18. 3 points in mental force for plus 16 ability power at level 18. 1 point in martial mastery for plus 4 attack damage. 1 point in arcane mastery for plus 6 ability power. I got 2 points in executioner to increase damage you do to low health champions. 3 points in archmage for plus 5% ability power. 2 points in devastating strikes for plus 4% armor and magic penetration. And 1 point in havoc for plus 3% increased damage. Now I said before, she is an AP champion, but her basic attacks are important, and her E makes them even more important because it increases your attack speed. So that's why I did put some points into increasing your attack damage. Feel free to distribute your points among Executioner, Archmage, and Devastating Strikes how you wish. I mean, for instance, if you want to increase the damage dealt to champions below 50% instead of 35%, if you feel like you don't need the 5% increase of ability power, and then if you want the 6% armor and magic penetration, it's really up to you on these three. This is just how I like to run it, but feel free to distribute among those three how you feel necessary. Now for the defensive tree, put 2 points in block to reduce incoming damage from champion basic attacks by 2. 2 points in tough skin to reduce the damage taken from neutral monsters by 2. 1 point unyielding for some more damage reduction. 3 points in veteran scars for plus 36 health. And 1 point in havoc for plus 3% maximum health. Alright guys, so now for the rune setup. For your marks, you're going to go ahead and do the plus 0.95 attack damage. For quintessences, you'll do the plus 4.95 ability power. For seals, I do the plus 1 armor. And then for glyphs, I do the flat plus 1.19 ability power. Some things you can change up. I wouldn't change the seals, quintessences, or marks. But if you want, you could go with the magic resist glyphs. If you want just a little bit of survivability. But I just do the ability power because I want as much damage as I can have for the other game. Now for the item builds, I will be showing you an AD build for Evelynn. So if you decide to go that route for your runes, on your quintessences, they will, you can't see here, but I'll hover it over anyways. You're going to change them to the attack damage quintessences, or maybe some penetration. Probably attack damage quintessences is probably what you're going to want to do. Your marks are going to stay the same. Your seals are going to stay the same. And then you probably will most likely go with the magic resist glyphs. Then you probably will go with the magic resist glyphs. You could do the flat rate or the scaling. In that case, I'll probably do the scaling just because, scaling is better in the long run. Yeah, so that's what you'll do if you go that way. Alright guys, so now let's go ahead and take a look at her item builds. I will be showing you an AP build and an AD build. The reason being is that they both do work pretty well. And if you're really wanting to play Evelynn and you need some AD on your team, it is possible, it does work. That being said, I almost always go with the AP build because if I am going to go AD, I'll probably pick another jungler. But, this build does work. I have used it, don't get me wrong. I have used it, so I know it works. But I prefer AP Evelynn. But I'm going to show them both to you, so you can try them both out if you want and see which one you like more. For your starting items, you're going to go ahead and take Hunter's Machete just to do more damage to the monsters. 4 health potions. For your totem, you can take Warding Totem or Sweeping Lens. I usually take Warding Totem to begin with, just so I can go ahead and throw it in my red buff when I get there, just to help with maybe an aggressive jungler that's trying to get you at a level 2 gank or something. It almost never happens, but you never know. If I do take this on my first recall, I do swap it out for Sweeping Lens. So you're going to get it really soon anyways, so if you want to go ahead and take it, go ahead and take it. And then on your first recall, you're going to go ahead and upgrade your Hunter's Machete into Spirit Stone. Even further increases the damage you deal to monsters by 20%. And 6% of the damage dealt is restored to you in health, and 3% is mana. Then I like to go ahead and pick up Boots of Speed and a Stealth Ward or two. Always ward. Vision is king in this game, and you're the jungler, so you move around the map more than anyone else. So go ahead and ward, help your team out. Just do it. And then for your core items, I usually go ahead and fairly soon upgrade to Boots of Mobility, just because Evelynn's strength is in the early game with her ganking ability, so it's just really nice to be able to move around the map that much quicker. And then for your junglade item, you're going to go ahead and upgrade to Spirit of the Spectral Wraith. Gives you plus 50 ability power and plus 10% cooldown reduction. And its passive grants 2 ability power per large or epic monster kill with a max of 30. So it gives you 60 more ability power if you get all the stacks. And then its passive Butcher is pretty much the same as Spirit Stone, but its damage is increased to 30%. But it still restores 6% as health and 3% as mana. And this passive Conservation stores 1 stack of gold every 1.5 seconds with a max of 80 stacks. Killing a large or epic monster cashes in up to 40 stacks. So this also works as your gold income item. Just helps you keep up in gold a little bit. And then your next item is Lichbane. Gives you a plus 80 ability power, 250 mana, and plus 5% movement speed. And then this passive Spellblade. After using an ability, the next basic attack deals 75% base attack damage, plus 50% of ability power, bonus magic damage on hit, with a 1.5 second cooldown. So this ability really helps with just your basic attacks. So this item really works well with your Q ability. Has a very short cooldown, and then your Q ability has a very short cooldown. So make sure to be hitting your basic attacks too. Don't forget about them. And with this item, it'll do pretty significant damage. And then your next item, Deathfire Grasp, gives you plus 120 ability power and plus 10% cooldown reduction. And its active deals 15% of the target champion's maximum health and magic damage, and increases all subsequent magic damage taken by the target by 20% for 4 seconds. So this is a really good initiation item. You're going to want to use this first, because not only does it do a good chunk of their damage, but it also increases all magic damage done to them by 20% for 4 seconds afterwards. So it's just going to make your other abilities do that much more damage for 4 seconds. Then for your situational items, if you don't want Boots Mobility, or maybe later in the game you want to swap them out, we have Ninja Tabby, which gives you plus 25 armor, and its passive blocks 10% of the damage from basic attacks. Then we have Sorcerer's Shoes if you just need a little more magic penetration, because the enemy team's getting quite a bit of magic resist. Go ahead and pick up this. And then if you want a really good damage boost, go ahead and pick up Rabadon's Death Cap. Gives you plus 120 ability power. And then his passive, which even further increases your ability power by 30%. So usually if I am going full damage, I am definitely going to pick up this item. If the enemy team is building quite a bit of magic resist, you go ahead and pick up Void Staff. Gives you plus 70 ability power, but then his passive, magic damage ignores 35% of the target's magic resist. So it's just a really good magic penetration item. And then if the enemy team has a lot of AP, or you're having troubles dealing with their AP champions, you can go ahead and pick up Abyssal Scepter. Gives you plus 70 ability power, but it also gives you 45 magic resist. And this aura reduces the magic resist of nearby enemies by 20. And then this is always, I mean, you can never really argue with this item. You probably want to get it if their team has really huge burst potential, or you're getting targeted in fights. And you go ahead and pick up Zhonya's Hourglass. Gives you plus 120 ability power along with 50 armor. And it's active stasis, which makes you invulnerable and untargetable for 2.5 seconds. Then after that, we have Guardian Angel. With her AP build, this is highly situational. If you're getting burned down in fights pretty quickly, you may want to go ahead and pick up this item. It gives you plus 50 armor and plus 40 magic resist. And then his passive, upon taking lethal damage, restores 30% of maximum health and mana after 4 seconds of stasis. So this item really comes in handy when, say, you're the one who's diving in and trying to get their ADC or their mid laner, and then you're dying like right after that. This is good because, you know, if you get their ADC, you'll be killed, but then you'll be able to come back and continue the fight. Don't get this item if your team's getting obliterated in team fights. It's not going to help. I mean, if it's close where your team can sustain after you die and give you time to come back, then go for it. But if your team's getting obliterated in team fights, don't get this. Get another item that's going to help you not get obliterated in team fights. Because otherwise, they're going to kill you, then your team's going to die, and then they're just going to be sitting there waiting for you to come back, and you're going to die anyways. So, you know, make your decision though. You know. And then another good tanking item is Randuin's Omen. Gives you plus 500 health, 70 armor. And then its passive Cold Steel, when hit by basic attacks, reduces the attacker's attack speed by 15%. And its other active slows the movement speed of nearby enemy units by 35% for 2 seconds. Along with your speed boost, your ultimate, which slows everyone in the area, and then you have this to use afterwards to even further just control the fight, keep the enemy team in place. It's a really nice item. Alright, now let's go ahead and go to the AD build. For your starting items, it's the same. You're going to take Hunter's Machete, 4 health potions, Warding Totem or Sweeping Lens, whichever you want. Your first recall, a little bit different. You are going to go ahead and upgrade your Hunter's Machete into Spirit Stone. But instead of your boots this time, I guess you could still get the boots if that's what you prefer. But I usually take Longsword, and then of course, Stealth Wards. Always take Stealth Wards. Vision is king, yada yada yada. And then on the core items, your jungling item is going to be different, obviously. Your jungling item with the AD build is going to be Spirit of the Elder Lizard. Gives you plus 30 attack damage and plus 10% cooldown reduction. And this passive Incinerate deals 16 to 50 based on your level true damage over 3 seconds on dealing physical damage. So that's just a nice dot that you'll passively put on people, not to worry about. And then your other passive, Butcher, against monsters deals 20% bonus damage and restores 6% of that damage as health and 3% as mana. And then his passive Conservation stores 1 stack of gold every 1.5 seconds with a max of 80 stacks. Killing a larger epic monster cashes in up to 40 stacks. And then your boots, right here I have Ninja Tabby. Just to give you some armor, and then his passive, which blocks 10% of damage from basic attacks. And this is just because you are AD, so you're not going to really be as effective with kiting. I mean, it still works, but your damage is going to come from your attack damage, not your Q ability, really. Your Q ability is going to help you keep up with the enemy to do your physical damage to them. So that's why I have this, mainly for early game. But, I mean, you know, you can never go wrong with Boots of Mobility either. So go ahead and take those if you're wanting to be able to have more of a map presence. And then your next core item is going to be Trinity Force. Gives you plus 30 attack damage, plus 30 ability power, plus 30% attack speed, plus 10% critical strike chance, plus 8% movement speed, plus 250 health, and plus 200 mana. So this is just a really good item that's just going to boost pretty much everything. And then his passive Rage, basic attacks grant 20 movement speed for 2 seconds. Kills grant 60 movement speed. Instead, this movement speed bonus is halved for ranged champions. I mean, this just even further increases your ability to chase people down. And then his other passive, Spellblade, after using an ability, the next basic attack deals bonus physical damage equal to 200% of base attack damage on hit, 1.5 second cooldown. Once again, just like with the AP build, kind of like Lich Bane does, I mean, after you use your ability, you want to make sure to keep doing those basic attacks, because especially with this, it's just going to do a whole lot of attack damage, and it has a really short cooldown. And since your Q ability has a really short cooldown, it just works really nice together. Now, in the AP build, I know I said that the Guardian Angel is highly situational. This is almost always going to be one of your core items for the AD build. That's because, like I said, just as you're not as good as kiting with your Q ability and stuff like that, because you're physical damage, so you have to get up in there, and there's even a greater chance that you're going to die in the fight no matter what. So this is just a good item to help you come back to life and continue the fight. But, you know, 50 armor, 40 magic resist upon taking lethal damage, restores 30% of maximum health and mana after 4 seconds of stasis. Then for your situational items, we have Randuin's Omen, 500 health, 70 armor. Cold Steel, when hit by basic attacks, reduces the attacker's attack speed by 15%, and then it's active, which slows movement speed of nearby enemies by 35% for 2 seconds. And then we have Hex Drinker, which gives you plus 25 attack damage and plus 25 magic resist. And this passive Lifeline, upon taking magic damage that would reduce health below 30%, grants a shield that absorbs 250 magic damage for 5 seconds. Now this just helps with sustain. Since you're AD, you're having to get right up in there in the fights, so this will just help you sustain a little bit longer. And then we have Banshee's Veil. This is a good item if the enemy team has assassins. It'll help you not get blown up as quickly. But it gives you 450 health, 55 magic resist, and this passive grants a spell shield that blocks the next enemy ability. This shield refreshes after no damage is taken from enemy champions for 40 seconds. And this other passive grants 45 health regain per 5 for up to 10 seconds after taking damage from an enemy champion or when the spell shield breaks. And the next item we have here is Hextech Gunblade. Gives you 45 attack damage, 65 ability power, plus 12% lifesteal. And this passive gives you plus 20% spell vamp. And then this other passive, basic attacks and single target spells against champions reduce the cooldown of this item by 3 seconds. And then it's active, deals 150 plus 40% of ability power, magic damage, and slows the target champion's movement speed by 40% for 2 seconds. So this is really another sustaining item with the plus 12% lifesteal and 20% spell vamp. This is just, it helps you sustain in team fights, or any fight in that matter. And then if you're needing a little bit more single target burst, you can go ahead and pick up Blade of the Rune King. Gives you plus 25 attack damage, plus 40% attack speed, and plus 10% lifesteal. And his passive, basic attacks deal 8% of the target's current health and bonus physical damage on hit. and its active deals 10% of the target champion's maximum health as physical damage, heals for the same amount, and steals 25% of the target movement speed for 3 seconds. So, I mean, if you're going straight to blow them up, use this active wherever, or you can wait till you take a little bit of damage and you can use this. That way you can benefit from its heal too. But also it slows them, so it helps you chase them down as well. And then we have boots of mobility as before, and then another option for your boots is to go ahead and pick up Mercury Treads. Gives you plus 25 magic resist, and then its passive reduces the duration of stuns, slows, taunts, fears, yada yada yada, pretty much all CC. Alright everyone, so now I'm going to go ahead and show you some gameplay footage, just so you can get a quick look at how she plays. So, hope you enjoy. So that's going to go ahead and do it for this guide. If you enjoyed it, go ahead, like, subscribe, and stay tuned to the channel for some more League of Legends guides. Also, feel free to leave some comments below on this guide or on ways that we can improve these guides. And if not, thanks for watching and have a good one.